my name's Hannah and I'm from ProCandleSupply.com. And if you've seen my previous videos, I'm so glad you're here. This year has been crazy and so busy, but I'm back and I have some great information for you. If you haven't seen my videos, we have everything you need to make high quality, really strong soy candles and soaps. And today I want to cover a topic that I get a lot of questions on, and that's about printing your own candle labels. And let me tell you, I have printed thousands of candle labels, but I've used so many candle label printers, and some have been really successful and some have been not successful. And I'm going to try to share some of my knowledge and experience with you so you don't have to go through as much headache that I've gone through. If you're looking to print your own candle labels, I've seen a lot of videos and suggestions that maybe it's a great idea or an idea to go down to your local electronic or home goods store, wherever you can get a printer, and buy a retail printer right off the shelves or a photo printer right off the shelves. And let me tell you that you're going to regret doing this because first off, the quality is not going to be professional. Say you print a label and you go and stick it into a bathroom, or you sell your candle to a customer who puts it next to their bathtub. After several days, the moisture and humidity in the restroom will cause the label to degrade. It'll bleed, it'll shrivel up. You can no longer read your label, and it just doesn't look good for your brand image. Secondly, when you're buying retail printers, the ink cost is extremely high. After so many labels, you'll be spending hundreds of dollars on these ink cartridges when you could just buy a more efficient label printer that's made for large quantities of labels. You're like, okay, that's awesome, except I'm just starting out and I just need a couple labels. That's okay. I totally understand. I would recommend when you're first starting, if you want to make your candle brand image look good, but you don't want to invest a whole lot at first because you're not sure if it's going to work out, I would recommend going on a website such as Avery.com, but there's also other ones out there that allow you to go on, design your label, and then they'll professionally print just even a single sheet of labels. It's not that many, and it ships right to your door. And they'll look professional because you can choose the material, you can design the label, and it looks great. So that's where you should start if you don't have a professional label printer and you don't want to print a ton of labels. So maybe you want to move up from that level and you want to start printing more labels. I know it's a little bit difficult in the beginning to justify putting a lot of money down on something like a label printer, but I've used so many label printers, and some of them you're always jamming them up, you're always having to switch the labels out, you're always having to adjust them, there's problems with the firmware and the software. They just can be totally a headache, especially even when you maybe grow so big that you have employees. You have to be able to rely on the printer to print when you're not there. It has to be simple enough to use and operate on a daily basis without problems. Going forward, when you get a printer that works, it makes your life so much easier. So when you're considering investing into a printer, it's really important to think about the return on investment, the ROI. So when you go down to the store and you buy a retail printer, you might be spending $1 a label, depending on how big the label is and how much ink it uses. But this printer behind me literally prints up, I think, 5 inches per second, and it costs pennies, depending on the ink and the label size. So if you're printing 1,000 labels, that's $1,000 on one side and 1,000 pennies, or I think $10 on the other side. And eventually that'll start leveling up. Like when you're first starting, you're like, oh, it's just a couple dollars here and there. I can afford that. It's not worth the investment. But if your business starts growing, you're going to be spending more and more and more money. Like honestly, thousands of dollars if you're selling hundreds to thousands of candles. So initially it might be a lot to cough up, but it's going to make your life easier in time and in money, because your time is worth money. We're all busy. It's going to make your life easier headache-wise and cheaper in the long run, more cost-effective. Also, another thing to consider is with a professional label printer like the one behind me, this could also open up a new stream of money or revenue for you. Bring in a new niche of customers. So this brings up custom candle labels. So custom candle labels, just like everything right now, custom is super hot. People love things made especially for them, customized, pictures, engagement, weddings, events, personal sayings, you name it, you can do it. And with a label printer like this, you can print 1, 2, 10, 100, and it prints right in front of you in seconds, drops off, and you can make as many as you need for as many orders that you have. Etsy, there's a huge market on there for custom candle labels. Or if you want to get into the wedding business, you can get in contact with a wedding planner or somebody who does the decorating for a specific wedding location. Like maybe this specific location has hundreds of weddings a year. If you know them or get in touch with them, you can be the one that does all the candles that they offer to their clients. Honestly, there's so many opportunities, and it makes it so much easier when you have this label printer right here and you can design it and print it on demand. Also, that brings up designing the label, but I don't want to get too far off topic because this is about printing labels. If you want to learn more about designing your own labels, I cover that more in depth in the candle making course that we offer. You can find the link to that down below, as well as the discount code that I can give you more details on. Today, I'm talking about printing candle labels and why this printer specifically has been a lifesaver. And the printers I've had in the past, I'm not going to name any printer names or brands because I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus. They honestly cause more headache than anything. I can think of one time in specific that the labeler just totally gave up on me, and I had no way of printing labels, and I had all these candle labels and orders to print, and I learned my lesson because I ended up having to buy another label printer. It's never an awful idea to have 2 label printers just in case. In fact, some of these label printer companies offer a program where if you have a label printer, you can sign up for an additional amount of money and they'll overnight a printer to you if something happens. But if you have a reliable, great quality professional printer, hopefully that doesn't happen. It's just something to think about down the road. The one I purchased, the one behind me, is actually a little bit larger than for most people would be necessary. This prints up to 8 inches across. Typically, labels for candles don't really exceed 4 inches, so that's what I would recommend firsthand. This one right here is the Colorworks Epson 6500A, and that's the one that's 8 inches across. But if you're printing labels that are only 4 inches wide, then you would only need the Colorworks CW 6000A. And when I say 4 inches wide, that doesn't mean it could only be 4 inches by 4 inches. That means that 4 inches by 6 inches, 4 inches by 8 inches, the length can still be longer. It's just the max width would be 4 inches. I bought the larger 8-inch one because I like to customize some of the packaging I have. So that's another great thing about having a professional label printer is you can buy a bunch of blank cardboard, craft box, white box, whatever color box you're using to package your candles in, and then you can print stickers and customize the outside of the box. So that's something to think about as well. But for most people, the candle labels probably don't need to be over 4 inches wide. So the less expensive, more affordable version would be the Colorworks CW C6000A, and that prints up to 4 inches. This printer, it's so easy to use. I think I said earlier, I think it prints up to 5 inches a second. You don't have to print that fast though. You can actually move it down. I think there's 3 levels so that like you're not using as much ink, or it's more efficient. It's really just kind of up to you, but I think I have it on the middle speed. So as you can see, I have a couple different labels on top of the printer, different sizes. I actually already have some circle labels loaded in that I'm gonna show you how I print on them right now. Circle labels notoriously are very difficult to print, to get them printed correctly at least. Oftentimes when you print circle labels, you're gonna have like a white halo, or the ink won't fall perfectly on the circle label, but this printer is the first printer I've had the least amount of problems with it. So I'm going to show you how you can only print, if you'd like, 1 label at a time if you're doing custom labels, or if you want to print a whole stream of labels, roll them onto a cardboard roll and then put them onto a label applicator machine, which I do often because a lot of times I'm just printing a bunch of candles. But if you're doing custom candles and you're just doing 1 at a time, this printer is super easy and it will actually cut each label 1 at a time as they're printed. So we're going to So right now I have Illustrator open with one of the candle labels I use. You can use Adobe Illustrator, you can use Photoshop. I recommend those. I know they can be a little bit difficult at first to learn how to use, but it gives you the most customization when you're making labels. So I have my copies as one copy, and I'm going to hit print right now. And it drops right in my hand. Beautiful, look at that. No white halo. So now I have one perfectly printed circular label for the top of my tin, and this one's actually waterproof because this is a vinyl label. I tend to use vinyl a lot because it's a waterproof material, holds up really well, and I like it because if you put the label on incorrectly, it's actually really easy to pull off and readjust because it's actually a vinyl material, it's not paper. So that's something else I can cover in a different video about different label materials, because it can be really confusing when you go on a label website choosing the material that's best for you, for your candle and your application. So I'll do another video on that, but this label looks perfect. So I'm gonna print a couple more and show you what it looks like when you print 10 or 12. But before I get ahead of myself, I really want to emphasize that's how easy it is to just print one custom label. So maybe I wanted a picture of my face on this tin. I could just print my face on this tin, one label, and then maybe I wanted to print your face on the next tin. I could just put your face on the next label and one more label would come out, another custom tin. So right now I'm going to print 25 of these same labels. I don't have this on the fastest setting, but you'll see how it pops out. This is just 25 labels, and from here you could take this and apply it to a cardboard roll, which is what I do. So the labels come on a cardboard roll, and you just take the labels and you attach them to the roll. I typically use double-sided tape or a little bit of clear tape, and then you can use it in your labeling machine, which I have and I can show you later because it's life-saving as well. So this is 25 professionally printed waterproof labels. They printed that easily and that quickly, and that was on the medium setting, not even the fastest setting. And this printer prints in full color, photo quality if you'd like, and this is just for lavender. I know it's upside down, but I swear it says lavender. And if I wanted to print peppermint next, I just pull up my next project or my other label, and I could print out 5, 10, 15, 100 peppermint labels, depending on how many orders I had to fulfill. It might seem like a lot to invest in initially. I know that feeling, and it can be scary, but sometimes making that initial investment for something that's going to make your life easier and save money in the long run pays off tenfold. And another thing to think about is when you're first starting out and you want to offer different candle fragrances or different soaps, you want to be able to offer different selections or different varieties to your customer. And if you're getting them professionally printed from another company, you're like, I just don't know how many orders I'm going to get of lavender versus peppermint. So you want to be prepared, so you buy maybe 100 or 200 of each label, and then they sit on your shelf. But maybe you only sell 10 of those, and then you wasted your money on a bunch of labels that you may not use. When you put in the investment for a label printer, now you can print on demand, and you can print just as many as you need. You don't have to have a bunch of backstock that just sits in a closet that collects dust. You just have to find when you feel comfortable investing in your business and in your brand, when you want it to look and feel professional, when you want to rely on a great printer versus printing them online with a different company or third party. It's really your call, but in the long run, I'm trying to save you some time so you don't have to spend hours watching more videos and reading about all the different reviews. This is a super reliable printer. I wasn't paid a dime to make this video. This is my honest opinion. It's the printer that, after I've been making candles and selling candles for over 6 years, and I've used so many different printers, and this one by far is my favorite. So if you want a good printer and you're ready to make that big leap and make your investment, I don't think you'll ever be disappointed with this printer. One last note, I almost forgot. I know, I'm kind of scatterbrained. This printer is also really good at printing custom warning labels for the bottoms of your candles. So maybe you have different brands or companies or details that you want to put on the bottom of your candle warning label, which I highly recommend customizing that. This printer is great for that. So that's just like a last minute tip. I really hope this video was helpful. It was short and sweet, but a question I get all the time, because every candle that you sell needs a label, and so that's a lot of labels that you will probably have to print if you own a candle making business. Thanks so much for watching. I'm so sorry for the delay and lag in videos, and I'm already working on my next one, which is about how to make a mass or large number of candles in all different scents, because I get a lot of questions about how to make a large number of candles without using like an entire candle melter in one scent. So I'm going to show you how I make lots of candles with as many scents as you need in the same day with not too much cleanup. But other than that, if you have any questions about labeling your candles, this printer, which again is the Epson C6000A, for the 4-inch width, feel free to reach out to me on the website directly. It's best to go to procandlesupply.com, scroll down to the bottom, hit contact. It's the fastest way to get a hold of me. Send me a question. I'll get back to you as soon as possible with as much information as I can. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and make sure you hit subscribe.